This learning is the Ili Nishmas Bruria Bas Chananya, Maseches Demai, Perek Aleph, Mishna Dalet. Demai, Ma'arvin Bay, you can make an Erev with it. This refers either to an Erev Chatzeris or an Erev Tchumen, Umishtatvin Bay, and you can make a Shittif with it. This is a Shutfei Muvais, which is similar to an Erev Chatzeris. So even though usually when you make an Erev with food, the food has to be something which the person could eat, and a person who is not allowed to eat Demai, nevertheless, a person could use it for their Erev because, as we're going to learn later, a poor person is allowed to eat Demai. And since every person has theoretically the ability to make all of their possessions hefker and become poor, so therefore we allow a person to make an Erev with Demai. The Mishnah continues, if a person ate Demai, usually if a person eats something which they're not allowed to eat, they don't make a bracha afterwards. But by Demai, if a person ate it, without separating the trumas and maasros, a person can make a bracha afterwards. And so too, if there are three people that ate it, they can make a zimun. A person is also allowed to separate the trumas and maasros from Demai, even though they're not dressed. Usually a person has to be dressed because they have to make a bracha when they separate the trumas and maasros. But by Demai, since the whole thing is a suffix, therefore there's no bracha, and so a person could separate it even if they're not dressed. And also, bein hashmashis, a person is allowed to take the trumas and maasros out of Demai when it's bein hashmashis of Erev Shabbos. The halacha is that a person cannot separate trumas and maasros on Shabbos because it's like a malacha of fixing something, and therefore a person cannot take out trumas and maasros from their tevel or from their Demai on Shabbos. However, by bein hashmashis, the chacham permitted a person to take the trumas and maasros out of their Demai. The Mishnah continues, Ha'im higdim meiser sheni l'rishin ein bekach klum. Usually, a person has to separate the trumas and maasros in a specific order. First bikurim, then truma, then meiser rishon, and then meiser sheni. And then when they come and do vidui meiser by Erev Pesach of the 4th and 7th year, they need to say that they separated it in order. If a person did not separate it in order, they can't say the vidui meiser. By Demai, even if a person separated it out of order, they could still say the vidui meiser. And the Mishnah concludes, Shemen shahagardi soch be'etzba esav. The oil that a weaver smears on his fingers, chayev b'dmai, is chayev in dmai. A person has to separate the trumas and maasros, and the reason is because this is like smearing a person's body in oil, and the halacha is that from dmai, if it's taken to be eaten, or oil to be smeared on a person's body, a person has to take out the trumas and maasros. And the oil that a comber puts into the wool of the sheep in order to make it easier to comb, so the person is not using it for their own body, and therefore, pater min admai, it's pater, it's exempt from the admai. A person does not have to separate from it the trumas and maasros.